Uni, 323 BC. The brutal summer heat of Babylon is suffocating. Inside the royal palace, the man who conquered the known world lies dead at just 32 years old. But as the days pass, a chilling rumor spreads through the ranks of his generals. 6 days after his last breath, his body shows absolutely no signs of decay. To his soldiers, it is proof of his divinity. To modern science, it suggests a terrifying possibility, a paralyzing neurological disorder. He may have been entombed while still breathing. But the true mystery of Alexander the Great isn't how he died, it is what happened to him next. This is the story of the ancient world's ultimate prize, the greatest heist in history, and a tomb that vanished from the face of the earth. A life cut short at its peak. By his late 20s, Alexander the Great had already toppled the Persian Empire, taken control of Egypt, and pushed his territory all the way to India. Then, while celebrating at a lavish royal residence in Ecbatana, tragedy struck close to home. Hephaestion, his lifelong companion and possible romantic partner, died suddenly from illness. Alexander's grief was so profound that he had the body embalmed, a practice almost unheard of in Macedonian custom. Historian Nicholas Saunders has suggested this unusual decision quietly foreshadowed what would soon happen to Alexander's own remains. Within months, Alexander himself fell ill, enduring nearly 2 weeks of severe stomach pain and fever, before dying in 323 BC, at just 32 years old. The cause has never been settled. Theories range from malaria to typhoid to deliberate poisoning. Even stranger, embalmers who examined him nearly a week after his death reportedly found no signs of decomposition, despite Babylon's punishing summer heat. One modern medical theory points to Guillain-Barré syndrome, a nerve disorder that can produce paralysis and breathing so faint it's barely detectable, raising the unsettling possibility that ancient physicians, who judged death by breath rather than pulse, may have pronounced him dead too soon. A kingdom without a king. Alexander's sudden absence left a power vacuum at the head of an enormous empire. Historian Andrew Erskine describes the resulting standoff as centering on 2 men, Perdiccas, who stepped in as regent on behalf of Alexander's infant son, and Ptolemy, who quickly secured control of Egypt as its governor. Whoever controlled Alexander's body, it turned out, held real political leverage. 2 years to build a coffin fit for a conqueror. Alexander's preserved remains were placed in a gold sarcophagus packed with aromatic spices, while master craftsmen spent roughly 2 years constructing an elaborate funeral carriage to transport him. According to descriptions preserved by the ancient historian Diodorus, drawing on eyewitness accounts, the structure resembled a small temple, complete with columns, statues of the winged goddess Nike, and golden lions. Some historians suspect the lengthy delay wasn't purely about craftsmanship. It may have reflected an unresolved argument among Alexander's generals over exactly where the body should ultimately rest. The corpse everyone wanted, Alexander reportedly asked, on his deathbed, to be buried near the desert oracle of Zeus Ammon, at Siwa, in western Egypt. But Erskine argues that outcome made little political sense for Perdiccas, who controlled the body. Handing it to Ptolemy's territory would have strengthened a rival. Instead, Perdiccas likely intended to bring the remains back to the royal burial grounds in Macedon, positioning himself as Alexander's true successor. The plan never got that far. Somewhere along the route, Ptolemy intercepted the funeral procession and seized the body outright. As classicist Paul Cartledge puts it, ambitious rulers have long treated a predecessor's corpse as a kind of political talisman, and Ptolemy, not yet a king himself, understood exactly what possessing Alexander's remains could do for his legitimacy. From Memphis to a city of his own name, Ptolemy initially brought the body to Memphis, then Egypt's traditional capital and his own base of power. Sometime between 298 and 283 BC, the remains were relocated again, this time to Alexandria, the city Alexander himself had founded. Erskine notes this move tracked with Ptolemy, shifting his own seat of power there, and also reflected an old custom. A city's founder was typically buried within its walls. The lost tomb called the Soma. The Greek geographer Strabo, writing decades later, described a royal enclosure within Alexandria's palace district known as the Soma, where Alexander and other kings were entombed. He noted something curious. By his time, Alexander's body rested not in its original gold coffin, but in one made of glass. A separate later account, from a writer named Zenobius, describes an entirely reconstructed burial complex, called the Soma, built, in the middle of the city, by one of Ptolemy's descendants. Whether these were two different sites, or the same location renamed as Alexandria, expanded around it remains genuinely unclear. Researcher Nicholas Saunders has argued, they may well be one and the same, the last recorded visitors. Whatever its exact location, the tomb attracted a parade of famous Roman visitors. Julius Caesar reportedly wept there in 48 BC, reflecting on how little he'd accomplished by comparison. Augustus visited a generation later, in one telling placing a golden crown on the body, and in another, accidentally breaking off part of its nose. Roman Emperor Septimius Severus had the tomb sealed shut around AD 199, and his son Caracalla apparently reopened it briefly in 215 to remove some items. According to Cartilage, that visit by Caracalla is the last one historians can actually confirm happened. Why the trail suddenly goes cold. After that, Alexander's tomb essentially disappears from written history. Right around the time, Christianity was reshaping the Roman world. Saunders has proposed that the discovery of what was believed to be Christ's tomb gave Emperor Constantine a powerful new symbol of authority, one that gradually redirected pilgrimage and public attention away from Alexander's resting place entirely. Nature may have delivered the final blow. In AD 365, a massive earthquake and tsunami tore through Alexandria, and while it's unclear whether the tomb complex survived that immediate disaster, the region then endured roughly 2 centuries of ongoing seismic activity and rising sea levels that permanently reshaped the coastline. Cartilage argues the simplest explanation is also the most likely one. Gradual land subsidence and a rising Mediterranean slowly pulled Alexandria's old royal quarter underwater. The search continues, even underwater. More than 140 official excavations have chased this mystery over the years, and in recent decades the hunt has moved offshore entirely. Divers and researchers have located sunken obelisks, stone sphinxes, and even a massive statue believed to depict Ptolemy and his wife on the sea floor. Sonar and GPS surveys have mapped out the drowned contours of the ancient harbor and identified submerged remnants of the Ptolemaic royal district, the very area once associated with the Soma, yet the tomb itself has never turned up. A handful of alternate theories persist outside Alexandria altogether. Some suggest the body may actually rest at Siwa Oasis, honoring Alexander's original wish, while a more colorful legend claims Venetian merchants smuggled the remains out of Egypt in the 9th century, and that they now lie beneath the altar of St. Mark's Basilica in Venice. An ordinary ending to an extraordinary story. In the end, the most probable explanation may simply be an unglamorous one. The city that once proudly displayed Alexander's tomb has been rebuilt, buried, and partially swallowed by the sea over 2,000 years, leaving his body somewhere beneath the accumulated layers of Alexandria's own long history. Which theory do you find most convincing? That Alexander still lies somewhere beneath the waters off Alexandria, or that his remains ended up somewhere far stranger, like Venice or the Siwa Oasis? If you enjoy digging into ancient mysteries like this one, consider subscribing and leaving a comment with your take. It genuinely helps decide what gets covered next. Thank you for reading all the way to the end. Stories like this one are always better when explored together, and I appreciate you being here for it.